we are now mainly going to say something about the elections to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. So today also my talk with you will be basically confined to these two elections. I am not going to confuse you with the elections to the Rajya Sabha or with the Vidhan Parishads. So you will see that the nomination paper has to be in a prescribed form. A person can't just come and give you some paper saying, here is my nomination, you take it, I am offering myself as a candidate. No, it has to be in a prescribed form. So for the Lok Sabha, the form which has been prescribed as a nomination paper is Form 2A. Again, Form 2A, which is appended to the conduct of elections rules. And for the legislative assembly is Form 2B. This Form 2A and 2B, I may just slightly give you some explanation. See, this Form 2A and 2B, though they are separate forms, but more or less they are similar in content. These two forms have been divided into 6 parts. They are not just run on, but they have been divided into 6 parts. Part 1 is filled by a candidate who says that he has been set up by a recognized national or state party. Then form, because there is a provision for only one proposer there. Then Form 2A and 2B. Second part is for those candidates who want to contest as independents or as candidates of the unrecognized parties, because they require 10 proposals. So that has been, provision has been made for 10 proposals in Part 2. Then Part 3 is some declarations. We will come to that one. Then 3A again is a declaration by him that he is not convicted or something. Then 4, 5, 6 are in fact for you. You have to give the decision on that day, on the date of scrutiny. Then there is a portion for acknowledgement, all those, and then you have to fill up certain things. When we come to that, I will tell you about it. But here also I may just tell you one thing here itself, that though the Form 2A and 2B have been divided into several parts, and Part 1 is to be filled by a person who wants to contest as a recognized national party candidate, and the Part 2 by a person who wants to contest as an independent or a candidate of a registered party which is not recognized. But Supreme Court has said that somebody may fill both the parts also. It's not necessary that if a person wants to contest as a candidate of a party, thinking that the party may ultimately give him the ticket, but he does not want to take a chance and he wants to fight as an independent also, if the party does not adopt him, then he can fill both the parts in the same nomination paper. He may do it separately, but he may do it in the same form also. He may fill the Part 1, he may fill Part 2 also, and the Supreme Court has said there is nothing wrong in that one. Then nomination papers, the language. Normally some people may like to fill it in English, others may not like to fill in English, and they may complete it in the official language of the state. So this can be accepted in both the languages. Then another thing which you must keep in mind, that normally what we do, for the facility of the candidates, we get the ballot, these nomination papers printed centrally. The Chief Electoral Officer gets the forms printed and then he supplies to all the returning officers. But it is not necessary, and you should not insist that you must give me the nomination paper only in that particular form which I have or my state has printed. Anybody is free to copy. They can cyclostyle it, they can themselves even privately print it. Even they can just copy it in hand also. But it should be exact copy of the prescribed form. So you cannot insist, don't insist, no, I will not accept this form. You have to take it and then decide whether this is an exact copy or not. If these things have been done, then naturally you will feel that the nomination will go through the first process. You will see must be qualified, must not be disqualified. That I will explain later as to what are the qualifications, what are the disqualifications. Then the nomination must be in the prescribed form. It can't be in any other form. They must be subscribed by the requisite number of proposals. 1 in the case of the recognized party, 10 in other cases, signed both by the candidate and each of the proposals. There is a space meant for the signatures of everybody. It should be signed in those places. Then security deposit he has made, and he has to enclose that with the nomination paper. Then he must also be complete. Then supposing somebody says I am a SC or ST, so simply a claim by him he will not satisfy you. If he is particularly where he is contesting an election from a reserved constituency, you have to be satisfied that yes, he is a scheduled caste or he is a scheduled tribe. And for that you can insist upon a certificate from the competent authority. And where in a general constituency he claims the concession in the deposit, there also you must be satisfied. Then here one more thing which is a very important requirement. If a person is contesting election from the same constituency in which he is a voter, then the electoral roll is with you. You can always verify whether his name is there or not. So he need not submit any other document to prove his registration as an elector. But if he is contesting election from another constituency and his name is registered in some different constituency, then the law says that he must show to you that he is a registered elector. And the manner in which he can show it, either he has to produce the whole copy of the electoral roll, which normally is not done, or a relevant part in which his name is there. But generally they will do a certified extract of the entry relating to his name in the electoral roll. The electoral roll here will mean the latest, which is current roll, not in the earlier roll. Earlier roll his name may be there, but in the current roll his name may not be there. So he has to give you the certified extract from the current electoral roll. And then current electoral roll, the time for presentation is either he should give along with his nomination paper or at any subsequent stage. And the law says, section 33 says, that even at the time of the scrutiny of nominations also he can produce. So here he can go even beyond 3 p.m. on the last date of nominations. He can go up to the time of the scrutiny of your nominations. So this is what he must do. Then there is another requirement which we will come on to when we talk about the disqualifications. If a person has been dismissed from the government service within 5 years, because disqualification for a government dismissed government servant applies for 5 years. So if within 5 years he has been dismissed, then he has to give you a certificate from the election commission. And unless that certificate is there with the nomination paper, he will not be taken as a validly nominated candidate. Because the disqualification for dismissal is only 2 counts: disloyalty to the government and corruption. And so he says, oh, I was dismissed but not for the disloyalty or for corruption. I was for some other reason. I may have been absent or so something. So he has to come to the election commission for a certificate that I was not disqualified for disloyalty or corruption. And that certificate he has to give with the nomination paper. The law says that if that certificate is not there, then straight away it will not be taken as a valid nomination. Affidavits which he has to give about the pending cases, about the convictions, and then about his assets, liabilities. One thing more here, I'll just tell you, these assets, the Supreme Court says, should be not merely of the candidate himself, but the assets of his spouse and also the dependent children. Whereas in the case of liabilities, they have not said. Liabilities only the personal liabilities, but the assets his own assets, his spouse assets, and also of the dependent children. It has to be only between 11 and 3 p.m., not beyond, not earlier. Then this is another very important this qualification. This is about the oath. About this also I will tell you when we talk to, because every candidate must make an oath or affirmation. For that there is a form set out, and I will explain in detail about this oath when we talk about the qualifications in the later part of the talk. Then form A and B, if the party accepts him, adopts him as a candidate, then those requirements must be met. Then if all these things are done, then naturally he can expect that he will be a candidate, and most probably his nomination will be accepted by the RO.